And I want to welcome you to TIP as well as everybody else. So let me talk a little bit about the history of TIP. Before 1985, when we started, there was no program in the country like it. There were programs like the Red Cross, Salvation Army, but no program in the country had started to respond to the daily disasters in people's lives like TIP does. Nothing like it. So how did this program spring up in little Oceanside, California? Well, there were four major factors, really. One is we saw a need. TIP is essentially a solution to a real need. And that need is for people who are traumatized at the worst time in their life to have some immediate support. I mean, that is the need. Now, I heard the need as a mental health professional. I was hearing patients coming in and day out and telling me not so much about their initial tragedy, but about how they felt they didn't get the immediate help on the scene they needed. So I was hearing that as a therapist, and it's like, wow, we got to be able to do something about this. I was also working with the police at the time. I was doing stress management for them, and I kept hearing from them that one of their stressors is having to lead these emotionally traumatized people off to the side while they did their jobs. So I was hearing the need. So TIP would not be here 25 years later unless it met a legitimate, clear, important need, both for police and fire and for victims of tragedy. So that was the first thing. Gee, there's a need here. The second thing that happened was a very close relationship between mental health department and the Oceanside Police Department. For 5 years before TIP, I formed a strong personal relationship with a cop across the street. And we did various things over those 5 years. And when it came time to present the TIP idea to the Oceanside Police Chief, my comrade, who I've been working with for 5 years, opened the door for me. I did the pitch to the police chief, and I walked out knowing I did not sell him. Matter of fact, I found out later he thought this was a wacky idea. But what did he fall back on? Well, we have this strong relationship with Wayne. And Steve Scarano, my officer, thinks it's good, so we'll give it a shot. So that's how it got started, with that sort of relationship. The third factor was we inadvertently, we didn't know what we were doing, came up with the perfect solution that's still alive today. And I don't take any credit for it, really. I give most of the credit to the police. So it's like, okay, we see the need. How are we going to pull this off? So we decided, well, we'll use volunteers. We'll promise 24/7, 365 service. We'll promise we'll be there in 20 minutes, anywhere in the city, for anything. I mean, talk about like a high standard, right? I mean, if I had my way as a mental health person, we probably would have said, well, call us at County Mental Health, and if we have time, we'll kind of come over to the police department. I mean, it would have been a whole different model, but I can remember the police saying to me, if you want to work with us, you have to work like us. So we set this high standard, which is alive today. Like there have been a lot of changes in TIP over the years, but that basic TIP model, call us anytime, anywhere, for anything, and we'll be there in 20 minutes, is the same. And it's the same across the country. If you want to be a TIP chapter, you gotta maintain that standard. And the reason I think it works is, unless we did that, the police wouldn't use it. It wouldn't be useful to them, right? If we showed up an hour later, or maybe showed up. It wouldn't be helpful to our clients if we showed up an hour later. They need somebody there now. And you know what? Our volunteers really like to have that high standard. We're kind of like the SWAT team of mental health in a sense. You know, you call police, no questions asked. We're there 100% of the time. That's a tremendous thing to promise. And I know when we first promised it to the Oceanside Police, when I walked out the door, I know they said something like, right. And so anyhow, that model was the third factor. And the last one was wow, the wow experience. When we started this program, it was simply like a program to me, just another program, part of my job, until I went to the first couple of continuing education meetings where volunteers were coming back talking about their calls. How many of you here have been to TIP meetings where you've heard a fellow TIP volunteer talk about a call and you kind of said to yourself, wow? You know that wow experience? I still go to continuing education meetings because I continually want that wow experience. Honestly, I mean, I'm always going, wow. A police officer thought in the chaos to pick up his radio and call TIP. Number one, wow. Wow, a person who worked all day, gets up at 2 in the morning, a TIP volunteer, and goes to this maybe godforsaken place, not knowing what they're going to find, for no money. That's wow number 2. Wow number 3 is the client, a stranger, accepts this stranger into their home. I mean, that's wow. And then after the call, it all works. The police officer's like, wow, that was good that person was there. The client was helped. And the volunteer says, oh, I really feel like I did something. In any case, that's when I caught the vision. 24.5 years ago at a continuing education meeting, I went, wow, we're onto something here. That's how the program, all those factors coming together, started in San Diego or in Oceanside. It grew throughout San Diego County for 2 reasons. There were 2 crises, 2 problems. One is we weren't getting any calls. So although we had started the program, our volunteers would be like waiting around for maybe 1 call a month. And that's hard to motivate volunteers, you know, when they're not going out. The cops weren't calling. That takes time. So I was always thinking, I mean, how can we get more calls? Well, we got to expand to this city. We got to expand to that city. You see how that trying to get calls kept us expanding. So it ended up being a plus. We got to add the fire department. The second thing is we were cut from county mental health, which was our nice home, where we were getting our funding. One day they called me in and said, you got 3 months and this program is out of here. We can't afford it anymore. That ended up being good. We were allowed to fly as a small nonprofit. So that's how we got started across San Diego. Let me tell you the things we learned. Some serious and some funny, or amusing at least. We learned 3 things I did not know when we started the program. One is amateurs can do this. I'm putting amateurs in quotes because all of my professional mental health colleagues at the time, the biggest objection was you're going to have Joe Blow, amateur, off the street with a little training you give them, no PhD, no MD. You're trying to tell us they can go out and do this? And I started wondering kind of after a while, like, whoa, maybe what am I doing here? But it didn't take us long, and you certainly know now, that not only can TIP volunteer amateurs do this, I think you are the only ones that can do it. You're wonderful at it. And so, but we had to learn that. We didn't know that when we first sent the first class out into the field, that they would be as wonderful as they and you are. The second thing is how important little things are to people in crisis. So volunteers would come back after those first few calls and say, Wayne, I didn't do anything. And I'm there, what do you mean? I said to myself, you know, I was trying to be cool. I mean you didn't do anything. Go out, back out, and do something. I'm trying to run a program here. I was very naive at the time. Now we know that actually going out and doing basically nothing or little is very powerful, right? We know that. That caring, that being there is very powerful. But we didn't know that back then. Now it's in our DNA, but back then we had to learn it. And the third thing we learned is how powerful a small group of people can be. What a difference a small group of people can make in a community. That first class was 12 people. How many people, Gabby, came to this first? 12? 13, your first class? Yeah. Now that doesn't make sense. 13 people should not be able to serve this whole area In 20 minutes, 365 for anything, right? 13 people. If I said, I'm going to have 13 people serve this whole region, and you can call them anytime, anywhere, and we'll be there in 20 minutes, it doesn't all add up. You should at least need 40 or 50 people to do that. But we learned that a small group of fired up people can change the world, really. So now in TIP, when 10 people just walk through the door for the training, we go, that'll be plenty. Those people are going to do the job. So those are the three things we learned. We learned some other things that when I look back are kind of amusing. I don't know if you'll find them amusing, but laugh anyhow. It was amazing to me looking back that we gave our volunteers 25 years ago great crisis intervention training, but zero or little training on how to work with police and fire or the coroner on a scene. I don't know what we were thinking. So these volunteers were going out knowing crisis intervention skills, but not having a clue how to work on an emergency scene. Consequently, here are some of the feedback we got from police officers and firefighters. Honestly, I kept these. You know, we sent, after every call, we sent a card saying, how'd we do? So I want to read you some of the things, these early feedback. Your volunteer did good, but you should have left the investigation to us. Oh, God. She got there quickly, but parked on our fire hoses. Or, I admire that you had teens as TIP volunteers, but her flip-flops drove me crazy, and her tiny tank top drove the 16-year-old son of the victim crazy. Your volunteers should have sought our permission before letting the 4-year-old boy climb all over our fire truck. Here's from a CHP officer. Your volunteer drove down the shoulder of the highway, holding her badge out the window, throwing stones everywhere. Your response time is important to us, but not that important. So, 5, okay. So we corrupt, I mean, these were a wake-up call, right? And now Gabby gets great feedback, and we turned it around, and now in all of our chapters, we have the trust of police and fire. I mean, they will call us to anything. And I want to read you some calls that will demonstrate to you that they will call us for anything. TIP staff call these kind of calls, God, great. They really trust us kind of calls. Volunteers who go to these calls call them, you gotta be kidding. So here are some calls, actually from the volunteer call reports, that will illustrate how police consider us really part of their team. And this is the volunteer briefing, the police officer briefing the volunteer as they arrive. We have been to this house numerous times for domestic violence, but don't worry, the husband is on medication. The person we want you to help is over there in the muscle shirt with all the tattoos. Don't be surprised when you see him, he's big. There is a huge cabinet in the bedroom full of guns. Don't let anyone near them. And here's one just recently. There are 3 vicious dogs in one of the bedrooms trying to get out. A family member went to the store for dog food because the dogs are hungry. If they get out when they're being fed, let us know. I'll end with this. One of the ways we learn is on our volunteer call reports, there's a section that asks the volunteer, what did you learn? And volunteers write things, and I've collected them. I'm a collector of those kind of statements. We thought that volunteers would give us these profound, intellectual, esoteric kind of things about the helping relationships. No. Here's some things, and this kind of shows you the kind of people TIP volunteers are no nonsense, straightforward, no BS kind of people. So here are the kind of things on their call report. It's hard to concentrate on your client with a pet iguana crawling up your leg. Before asking, this may be my favorite, before asking a client if they would like a lock of the deceased hair, make sure the deceased has hair. Dying costs more than being born. I learned to take off my badge when I finish a TIP call, or everyone in Target will think I work there. Even large men are fearful of their tiny rogue mothers. You can get kosher turkeys at Trader Joe's. If you have a family member who makes great food, get their recipes before they die. When you arrive on a scene, don't assume the person sitting in a chair is sleeping. They may be the deceased. So we've learned a lot over the years. Let me come full circle and say I thought that once we established this program and showed that it was successful in San Diego, and then maybe did it in Orange County, and then maybe in Portland, Oregon, that it would take off. That other cities would just go, oh, that's great, and import it into their city, and I mean, we would just spread all over the country. That is not what happens. Each city or county is unique. The program has to be created almost all over again. I mean, we from TIP bring in the training, bring in various things, so it's not like you're starting from scratch, but it's like you need to establish those relationships again. Get credibility all over again with police and fire. So what I'm saying here is you are founding the program yourselves, and you've done a great job. With our little bit of help, we gave you kind of the little model, but you had to refound it, recreate it, and my hat is off to you. So congratulations.
I've graduated a year ago. I'm sure you're much better off today with that experience under your belt than where you were a year ago. I have to say it's very informational to hear the stats from Wayne, but that 20-minute response, you might be getting there quicker than we do. Got a 6-minute response on the calls we call you too. Some of the other ones might be a couple hours. I think there's two things that I want to impress, and one is just the congratulations of getting to the end of this where you're ready to go out. You're probably apprehensive, you're probably nervous, and you should be. Because you're getting, you are going to impact people that lives have been distraught, and you're going to help them. And you are what they are going to remember. And there is no doubt you are going to be better on the 50th one than the first one. My dad always told me, experience is a dear teacher, and it is. But always, TIP is going to give you the confidence. It's going to get it right here, but do you have it right here? And that's what it's all about. And at your time's a moment when you don't know what to say or what to do, follow your heart. Because at least you will leave an impression on them that you care. And no matter how you travel through the call, as long as you leave that, that is what they're going to hold on to. Their times are chaotic. They're not going to remember that much, depending on how traumatized they are. They will remember that. So please remember that. I respect what you do. The spirit of volunteerism is something just energizing to be around. I came down here just a little bit ago. I was talking to Deputy Chief Evans, tired through the day, just listening to everything. I'm excited and I'm passionate of what you do because you're doing it for free. And people can talk all they want, but until they step up and put their time, that is a true gift that you're giving. And your time is precious like everybody else's, and you're here tonight. So with that, thank you very much.
There's never been a time in our community is already hurting in so many different ways, that this program can really make a difference. And the challenge to those folks that are going out there, and certainly the graduates today, are that you're already dealing with a community that's suffering, and now you've got another tragedy that you're responding out to. And so the work you're going to do out there for these people has never been more important, in my opinion. The need has never been bigger. I can think of so many times over the last several years where we were really in a bind when we had nobody to respond. Fatal traffic accidents where you had people distraught and nobody to really work with them while we did our job. And so the void that this program has filled in this community is significant. The work you do is significant. It will add meaning to your life and into the life of others. Don't underestimate the power of that. And really remember that it is a true, right now the servant leadership aspect of what you're going to be doing is something that I certainly respect, and I know our community does. So thank you so much, and we will be there to support you. And I just want to add that we've had some serious incidents in this community recently with the Walmart most recent incident, where TIP has really stepped up and helped tremendously with those families. So it's invaluable. So thank you very much, and congratulations.
And I can only echo what my colleagues have said tonight, that volunteerism is the essence of every community in our nation. This country was made by volunteers. From the time of the Minutemen, back in the founding times of our country, to the present time, it's folks like you who get up in the middle of the night, in the middle of a snowstorm, and respond to an emergent situation occurring in their community to help an absolute stranger. And it speaks highly of the integrity of our folks that live here in our community and the type of people that call themselves citizens of our cities and our counties in our region here. And we're absolutely thrilled that you folks have stepped forward to volunteer and assist your fellow citizens and assist your local police and fire agencies in what they do every single day. And you're truly a partnership with us. We appreciate what you do, and we look forward to working with you in the future. So thank you.
I want to thank all of the law enforcement agencies for being here, for supporting us. You guys are amazing. This program started because of the law enforcement agencies in this town. It was, you know, a private individual with some local support from the Reno Police, Sparks Police, Washington County Sheriff's Office all jumped in and backed him up and got this program running. So it was a long time coming, but it's finally here, and we are so proud to have 1 year under our belt. So with that, if I can get all of the dignitaries up here, what we're going to do is just form a little line, and we're going to pass out graduation certificates to our graduates for this August class. Because I know that's why you all came. Snap photos.
Graduate up individually, Brian Alonzo. John Crum.
John.
Annie Fabian. Diana Lee. Kimberly McClintock. Mary Powell. Naf Sakar. Nicole Shawwecker. Last but not least, Debbie Struckoff.
Volunteers could just come up here real quick so we can all see the cool volunteers. Yay! This is your TIP family. These are the folks that are going out on all these calls and doing all this amazing work in this community. Yay, good job, guys. Good job, out here. Those weren't calls here. We don't know.
You don't want me to scare people away.
No, no, our volunteers are good. That was the beginning phases.
Yeah.
So thank you all for coming. I want to have Rick, he's our board president, he wants to say a few things to you, and then we'll let them eat cake.
I'm going to be short. I kind of shared the same vision when I kind of took on the responsibility about a year ago, and many phone calls with Wayne Fortin, and he can contest. Where are you, Wayne?
Here.
Right? I was a little nervous when we got going on here, but all I want to say is the true success for the Reno chapter of the Northern Vet is right here. Is Gabrielle.
And I want
We would like to take more credit, but we can't. Gabby does a wonderful job on a daily basis, and we just help her any way we can. And I want to say thank you. I've witnessed TIP in action, and there's not enough words to express our thoughtfulness for what you're doing, and just thank you. But thank you, Gabby, also.
Thank you.
All right.